Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. It looks like, there we go. It looked like LinkedIn didn't connect right away, so let's try that again. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I'd like to spend a little bit of time answering questions from you. So that this way you're getting expert advice to help you with your job search. I'll just remind you, put your questions about job search in the chat so I can answer them live. Also want to mention and invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. The address there is linkedin.com/IN/ the big game hunter. Now there I mentioned, let's try this differently. There we go. My podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio. Sorry, that's a little messy, but it's the way it is for today. No BS Job Search Advice Radio is the #1 podcast and Apple Podcast for job search. Last week, we reached episode 2,900. Very few podcasts have that many episodes, and this is the #1 podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search. No show is anywhere near that number of episodes. I'll also mention JobSearch.Community, where I provide coaching to people, answer your questions about job search, provide all my video courses, books, and guides inexpensively for people. I've got some available for free there, but some are behind a paywall, and I make them available inexpensively. To give you an idea how inexpensive it is, on my traditional site where I have my blog, each of these courses could be anywhere between $29 and $49 each. And on this site, at the lowest price, I have it for $49 a month for all of them, because I recognize in this economy, people need help, and I'm trying to make it available to folks. So again, that's JobSearch.Community, and I can coach you, answer your questions, and do a lot to help you with your job search through the site. Also, Career Coach Office Hours, as you probably know, is available Tuesdays at noon Eastern. On LinkedIn, YouTube, and on Facebook, on the Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter page. So again, that is Career Coach Office Hours, where I answer questions from job hunters for about 30 minutes. Sometimes it go a little long, sometimes a little bit less, but not often. And I try to be of help to people because, especially in markets like this, folks need help. And it's why I've adapted my coaching to create programs that are designed to help people at a reasonable cost. So again, that's JobSearch.Community. Now, I want to start off with my comments about Friday's jobs report, which, especially for those of you on LinkedIn, I don't want you feeling depressed. I actually read these things. So I'm going to start off by saying, the headline number, the one that makes you upset if you're out of work, is you're reading about 303,000 new jobs being created in the economy. And you're wondering why you can't get one. Well, let me explain to you why you can't get one. So let me just see if I can pull up the report for a second. There we go. So 303,000 is the new jobs. However, of those 303,000, 72,000 are in healthcare. Not you. Government, 71,000. Not you. And that totals 143,000 so far. Social services, another 9,000. Now, between government and government adjacent, which is what healthcare and social services is, that's 152,000 of the 303,000. Then we start looking at other categories. Construction. You work in construction? I don't think so. That's 39,000 jobs. Leisure and hospitality, 49,000. See the problem here? The economy is not creating jobs for people who are on LinkedIn, who are college-educated professionals. And the media isn't telling you this. Government isn't telling you that. They treat all jobs as being the same. A job is a job is a job. And that's not true. Watch this one. Of those 303,000 jobs, almost half of them, matter of fact, slightly more than half of them are part-time positions. And over the last year, the number of full-time jobs has decreased by over 100,000, and the number of part-time jobs has increased by like 140,000. To me, part-time probably includes gig work. So, for example, the social services jobs may involve gig work. Yes, we need someone to come in and be a clinician for our agency for 15 hours a week. That is treated as a job. Just like in the summer, if your kid is working in a camp, that's a job. They're only going to be there for 2 months, maybe. And the result winds up being after that, they go back to school. But the government claims it's a job. They pull all sorts of little numbers there. So, if you're on LinkedIn, the biggest upset for you is the economy is not creating jobs for you. It's why your network is so important, and why the next course I'm releasing on JobSearch.Community is going to be a networking course, a big, robust networking course to help you land your next role. So keep an eye out for that. I'm hoping to have it up on the site in the next 2 weeks. But again, I'm just starting off by saying it's rough out there. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're a college-educated professional, you're being hosed by the government, who's trying to make you feel like, oh, the economy's great, but not for you. Not for you. As I've outlined, government, healthcare, social services, that's more than half of the jobs that were created. And more than half of them are part-time. You don't want part-time work. You want full-time work for what it is you do. And that's a problem. So I've received questions from people. I'm going to encourage you, if you've got a question for me, put it in the chat so I can answer it live today. Okay? And again, go to jobsearch.community. Minimally take advantage of the free information I have on the homepage. There are video courses. There's one about elevator pitches. And I used to hate elevator pitches because they always sounded like I want to take a shower afterwards. But I've got a model there that's really very good. And it's just a statement of fact done in a way that's going to make you seem powerful and effective to the people you're speaking with. So again, that's jobsearch.community. As I mentioned, I've received a lot of questions from people going into this week's show, because last week it was a pre-recorded show because I was on vacation in Vermont visiting my son, who recently moved there for a job. So I'm back live today. And if you watched last week's show, thank you. I think I answered some good stuff there in advance of my trip. I put in my 2 weeks resignation notice a week ago, and my manager is assigning me so much work during my last 3 days. How do I address my concerns? Now, I don't know what your concerns are, but you're walking out the door in 3 days. And all I care about is, number one, you do a good job. Number two is you're not rude to your manager. Number three is you get as much done as you possibly can without killing yourself. And just simply say to your boss, I'm leaving in 3 days. And if your goal is to overwhelm me with work, you're doing a pretty good job. I'm not sure how much of this I'll be able to complete, and it's not for lack of effort, but I've got plans the next 2 nights, and I'm not going to change them. So I'm trying. I want to get things done. I think one of the things I want to make sure we do is a good handoff to my successor in this job. And I'm not seeing that really getting slotted in. And if that's not important to you, I'm okay with it. But I can only do what I can do. I can't really do more than that without killing myself. And I don't think my wife, partner, husband, son, daughter, dog, cat really would be happy if I died at my desk to get this work done. So I'm going to complete as much as I can. I'm not working overtime because I have other plans the next 2 days. Frankly, we're going out for celebrations with some friends, and I'll do the best I can. And if they go, well, you got to get it done. Well, I'm not going to commit to that. You've overwhelmed me with a lot in the last 3 days, and I'm going to work at my usual pace. I'm not going to kill myself here, and we're going to move on, and I'm going to wish you good luck. So the whole goal here is to do it in a way where you're respectful. You're going to get a good reference at the end of this, and if they're going to be a creep, you're going to know it. Now, again, I'm back at the idea that at times they're going to try and do things to swamp you with work at the end. So that seems to be what's happening to you. So be patient. That's it. Very simply. Be patient. Get as much done as you can. Do world-class work. Go to your next job and be great there. Okay? I've got another question. And for those of you who are watching me elsewhere, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat so I can answer it live. Okay. So this one I thought was very funny. Let's see. Let's use that one. Will it help more in a job interview to be bubbly or serious? This is almost like, we're talking about, a young girl who's asking this question as opposed to someone who's in the workforce. And I know this sounds sexist, but these are stereotypes, as though a woman should be bubbly, a term I've never heard used with men before, or serious. And the answer is neither. That's not the right model to work with. Bubbly or serious, oh, I'm a happy person. Oh, it's ridiculous. Serious, oh, very serious, professional. Instead, focus on getting them to trust that you can do the job. I'm going to repeat that because it's really the most important thing. Focus on getting their trust that they believe you can do the job. Why do I say that? Because when firms hire, competence is only one thing they look for. They like to see self-confidence, because a person who projects self-confidence engenders that kind of trust and belief. So self-confidence, character. Do you have character? Are you a character? Some firms want to hire people who have the personality of characters. The leisure and hospitality. Is a classic example of that as a bartender. Chemistry. How do you fit with other people? How do you get along with other people? Competence, self-confidence, character, chemistry, charisma. Charismatic people always do better than non-charismatics, that you care about doing great work, that they can connect with you because they want to trust you. So focus on the things that are going to make them trust you rather than bubbly or serious. You can have a smile on your face during a good part of the interview. You can also, be very serious too. Makes no difference. But if they don't trust that you can do the job, you're not going to get hired regardless of that goofy smile you put on your face. So again, make them fall in love with you, not because you're a bubbly personality, but because they trust you and believe in you. Okay. We've got another question here. After 2 interviews at a large firm, 1 rejection, another interview for a different role, and another rejection, is it possible to get called for an interview again and get hired within 6 months? Yes, it is possible. Is it likely? I don't know. Depends on the firm. Depends on the size of the firm. Fundamentally, I haven't heard anything here that would prompt them to say no right away. Is it likely? Well, hard to say. But again, the question is, you've been rejected twice. How many similar jobs to these that you've interviewed for do they have? What kind of work do you do that would make them want to speak with you again? I don't know that answer. And that's really a big part of what's missing from your question that I can't really be certain about. But is it possible? Yes. Is it a certainty? Absolutely not. Okay. And I'll just remind you, if you've got a question about job search, put it in the chat so I can answer it live. Okay. So we've got another one. Sorry, I clicked the wrong little button there. What should I say during a job interview if the hiring manager asks me how I stand out from other people? Oh boy. Okay. So the answer is, I have no idea. I don't know who the other people are that you're interviewing. And perhaps the correct answer I can give you is, I'm not going to lie to you. If I don't know something, I'm going to tell you. I'll try and sort it out with you to make sure I know how to handle a situation the way you'd want me to. But the one thing I'm going to tell you is, if I don't know something, I need your help. And I don't want my inability or my lack of experience doing something to adversely affect a team. Now, sometimes managers will fall in love with that answer. Sometimes they'll dig in deeper. Are you saying other people lie? No, I'm speaking for myself and my experiences. I've been in too many situations where people lie to get hired in jobs, and then they can't deliver afterwards. And the result winds up being we all suffer as a result. So that's why I'm trying to be clear here that if I don't know something, I'm going to come to you pretty quickly, admit I don't know how to do something, and ask for help so that no one else suffers from my lack of knowledge or experience. That's probably the best way to handle it. Oh, yes. Before I go to the next question, I'm just going to remind you, go to JobSearch.Community. I've got a lot of great content on the homepage to help you. Enjoy it. It's my pleasure to give it to you free. Become an insider, and you'll get access to all my video courses, books, and guides, plus can ask me questions through the site, to which I commit to responding within 24 hours. Become an Insider Plus member. You get all of that. Plus, we do 2 Zoom calls a month to help you with your job search and answer your questions. Become an Insider Premium member, and you get all of that. Plus, we do individual or group coaching. 4 hours per month. So again, that's JobSearch.Community. Okay. So a job application was changed from reviewed to submitted. What does that mean? It means that there was a screening process where your resume was reviewed by either the machine, unlikely, well, likely there was reviewed by a machine, but it went to a screener in HR who forwarded to a hiring manager, hence it was submitted to them. And thus, what it means is that you've passed the initial superficial screen, and now it's been sent to a hiring manager for them to decide whether or not they want to interview you. That's it. Nothing special. There's no magic there. They're tracing every step along the way so that there are no surprises for you. Okay. What does it mean if the first round of an interview is with the boss of the hiring manager? Many of you want to read tea leaves, like there's special meanings to things. Now, it could mean that the manager, the hiring manager, is on vacation and they want to continue interviewing, and thus you're meeting with their manager. It could mean that this is a new manager and their boss wants to do screening, then have them screen you, and then teach them through that shared experience what they looked at versus what you looked at as part of your training. It doesn't mean, oh, they really like me. No, it doesn't mean anything like that at all. What it means is they're walking you through the process as they see it. And they like to start off with the hiring manager's boss because maybe they don't trust the hiring manager in their hiring and their decisions because that person has failed a couple of times. There's a million possibilities, if not more. Don't overthink this. Focus instead on delivering yourself and your ideas and your knowledge to the best of your ability. So again, as I said to someone else earlier, they want to trust the person that they hire. And thus, you have to put yourself in their shoes. What do you think they care about that's going to prompt them to want to talk to you and hire you? Think of it from their seat. What do they want to know about you that's going to make them want to hire you? And I'm just going to remind you, I've got a great video course at JobSearch.Community called The Ultimate Job Interview Framework. People love this course because it really teaches people how to interview well without sounding like everyone else. Remember, if you look, sound, and act like everyone else, how do they choose you versus all the others? This is a model for interviewing, again, the ultimate job interview framework, that will help you stand out in a good way. So, again, that's available through JobSearch.Community. Go there, become an insider. I want to help you even more. Okay? Let's go to the next question. Oh, this was a long one. And I'm going to do this in two parts because it's just a long setup here before I can start answering it. Okay? So the first part of the question is, give me a sec to get this on the screen. Yeah, we go. It's been almost 4 months since I lost my job. I've had very little movement with first interviews. I've applied for over 90 jobs, sent introduction emails to the head of sales to show my drive to be proactive, and mention a few value points I bring to the table just to receive Dear John letters over and over. I've had people in my network make introductions for me into their company with no success for an initial interview. These are jobs I'm very well qualified for. Now, this is part one of two parts. So the first thing I want to say is you're not getting a lot of interviews. Your resume doesn't make a case for why you can help them, why you're qualified to do the jobs that you're trying to network for. So you have to tailor your resume for each individual role that you're submitting for. So again, if you're not getting interviews, your resume sucks, your resume and LinkedIn profile are not congruent, your resume doesn't make a case for why you're qualified, or you're applying aspirationally. I don't think it's number 4, although it could be, but those are the 4 primary reasons why people get rejected. Now, here's part 2 of the question, which I found fascinating. Let me continue on. Here we go. Good. There we go. Oh, sorry. That's the same part there. Okay. Here it is. I have a unique way to listen to the prospect's pain points, provide a solution that will allow them to sleep better at night while growing revenues for my employer. How is it that a seasoned, successful salesperson who's been to the President's Club multiple times, grew pipelines 4 to 5x, closed lots of business, not get interviews? The last 4 years have been out of our control with COVID layoffs, restructuring layoffs, and new leadership bringing our team in. And there you have it. That's the problem. Number 1 is you're narcissistic enough to believe that you have a unique solution, a selling solution, because it has been failing for the last 4 years. Because you're telling me that for the last 4 years, their problems selling because you're talking about the past dramatically when you were in the President's Club. And the last 4 years have been out of our control with COVID layoffs, restructuring layoffs, and new leadership bringing in their own team. Why was the new leadership brought on? Because the existing leadership failed to generate sufficient revenue. You failed to generate sufficient revenue. You need to not think of yourself as having this unique sales style and sales capability and ability to listen better than other people because you've been failing for 4 years. COVID was in 2020. As I record this, we're in April of 2024. Your sales methodology doesn't work. So hustle. Be able to talk about successes, not blame COVID. COVID ended 2 years ago. What's the problem since then? That's on you. So the reason you're not getting interviews is they don't believe you're going to put points up on the board, that you're going to be able to successfully sell. There you have it. That's the problem. So fix that. Get better. Learn. Put in an effort. Don't sit on your laurels. You've got work to do, lady. You've got work to do, sir. Whatever it is, you're not so unique. And your sales methodology isn't working. What is the best time for a recruiter to call you for an interview? As soon as they hear from their client saying they want to hear, they'd like to schedule you for an interview. Have them text you immediately, get back to them quickly so that this way they're able to be responsive and get you onto the calendar sooner rather than later. When is the best time? As soon as their client says, we'd like to meet with her, we'd like to meet with him, and then get you onto the calendar. Okay? Just going to remind you, if you've got a question for me about job search, put it into chat so I can answer it live. Now, I've got a couple of more questions. And again, I go to about 30 minutes. I'm going to cover as much as I can so that in this way, some of you may have to wait a week for me to answer your questions. Is it rude to not answer an interview question? Well, there are some interview questions that shouldn't be answered. For example, are you single? That's not a good interview question to ever answer. And I would respond by saying, really? That's what you want to know? Really? And just be aware that you're probably not going to get hired, but do you really want to work for this person? I then notify HR and say, this person asked me if I was single or not. Not a legal question, not an appropriate question. I'm sure you know that. I won't come to work for you. I might come to work for someone else, but not this hiring manager. But I thought it was important for you to know. Is it rude to not answer an interview question that's valid for them to evaluate you for the job? Why wouldn't you answer that question? It's not just rude, it's dumb. If you can't answer it, well, you just acknowledge that I'm not sure the answer. Is it okay if I kind of work my way through my thinking so you have a sense of how I approach stuff? Sure, that's okay. And they'll work from there. But is it rude? I don't think that's really the right word. Dumb, I think, is a pretty good word there. And just move on from there and know that you're probably not going to get hired. Okay? And last question for today. How should I address a cover letter? Here we go. How should a cover letter be addressed when there's no name on the job posting? How are you submitting the cover letter to them? Mail? Why are you mailing something? Email? Well, email is quirky. There's no reason to address an email. use the body of the email instead of an attachment, and just simply say, I'm forwarding my resume to you for such and such role that I saw advertised on such and such, or at the recommendation of so and so, who thought you might have an available position I'd be qualified for. They gave me an idea of what you were looking for. This is how my background matches up. Under this model, you don't have to address it because it's the body of an email. Never send the cover letter as an attachment because no one will open the attachment to read it. So how do you address it as an email? Don't. How do you address it as U.S. mail? Well, you have an address. You're not sending it to the Human Resources Department or Talent Acquisition. You're not sending it that way. You're doing it through LinkedIn, for example, or a job board. On a job board, no need to address it. On LinkedIn, no need to address it. Just move on, submit the cover letter, don't sweat it. Okay? So I hope you found today's show helpful. I'll be back next week with more. I'm Jeff Altman. Again, go to JobSearch.Community. I've got free content there to help you. And become an Insider Plus member, or an Insider Premium member, so I can provide you with even more help. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio wherever you listen to or watch podcasts. As I mentioned earlier, watching it is on Spotify. And then Career Coach Office Hours, I'm going to be back next Tuesday with more. So if you were too shy to ask me a question today, you can always send it to me after we become connected on LinkedIn. Again, that's linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. And this way I can answer your questions live. Have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. Take care.